I now hand the conference over to Mr. Aniruddha Joshi from ICICI Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Dizan. On behalf of ICICI Securities, we welcome you all to Q1 FY22 results conference call of Tata Coffee Limited. We have with us today senior management represented by Mr. Chacko Thomas, Managing Director and CEO, and Mr. K. Venkatramanan, Executive Director Finance and CFO. Now I hand over the call to the management for their initial comments on the quarterly performance, and then we will open the floor for question and answers. Thanks, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Anirudh. Good morning. This is Chacko Thomas. I just wanted to begin the call by underlining the fact that the last couple of months were severely impacted on account of the second wave of COVID that hit us. And it impacted us as individuals and also, corporates across the country, not just Tata Coffee alone. However, we were also impacted at the company due to shutdowns, where it impacted our operations and unfortunate loss of life that took place in some of our establishments on account of COVID. However, we worked hard to try and minimize this impact on our employees, the communities that we operated, and the business in general. Despite these challenges, both on the domestic and global front, on a standalone basis, we were able to deliver a good financial performance for the quarter. On a standalone total income for quarter one, we stood at about 179.5 crores, out of the same quarter of 175.6 crores. The standalone PAT was 28.2 crores versus 10 crores in the same quarter last year, and this being on account of good sales performance across most of the primary divisions. Moving on to the businesses in the instant coffee arena, both in India and Vietnam. I'm pleased to report that amidst all the turmoil and uncertainties, the instant coffee's performance both in India and Vietnam have been pretty remarkable. Despite the restrictions that were imposed on movement of material, man, etc. in the middle of the quarter, we still managed to continue with our operations in both Teni and Tufan. There's a fairly good sales performance which we managed to clock in quarter one. Also, there was a good focus on cost pullback, and that continues to give us increased savings in the Indian operations also. In Vietnam, again, very happy to report that we operated our plant at close to 98% capacity with an excellent sales performance, which is largely around higher volumes across all the products that we had, but especially the premium blends, which we were able to monetize pretty well during the quarter. We still face the impact of the pandemic in certain ways because of repeated lockdowns in some of the regions, and at the moment we have issues that are there in Vietnam. We also have an inordinate increase in logistics cost. There is a difficulty in the shipping lines, and there is of course the increased input prices which have come by. But we are very, very confident that we would be able to surmount this by our focused new customer acquisition agenda that we still continue to run very, very strongly in the entire company. This is also again through new products that we are coming up with, and also a higher percentage of premium blends that we are selling at the moment. In my opinion, this would help us mitigate any of these impacts that I have spoken about in the past. On the plantation front, I think the weather so far has been quite conducive for a decent harvest of crop of both coffee and pepper. We feel thus far there have been no major incidents on any of the climate change that has typically impacted us in the past. With the lockdown now lifted, we are now making sure all efforts are on to ensure workforce is mobilized so that for the upcoming harvest we are not impacted in any manner. Of course, cost optimization is something which we continue to run quite robustly in both our plantations. Tea also has had a decent quarter, the improved performance over the previous quarter. And we also intend to invest into and turn these operations sustainably profitable as we go forward. Now moving on to the consolidated results. The results for quarter one have been slightly lower than the same quarter last year. And this is largely on account of lower volumes and sales from 8 o'clock coffee. What is very important to remember here, in quarter one of financial year 2021, we had seen higher sales primarily due to pantry loading, which was fueled by the COVID-19 issues that had actually come up in the US. This has normalized on the course of this quarter, and on account of this, the consolidated total income for quarter one is 532 crores as compared to 587 crores of the previous year. To summarize, I think while there are pandemic-induced challenges, and these are going to stay, our efforts are largely concentrated towards capturing new markets, and there is a good show of traction on these lines that we are seeing. We are seeing opportunities where there are orders that are coming our way, and we want to execute the same in a timely manner, and of course keep costs pretty steady. And I think with all this, we are very clear that we want to. This will not be we need to keep the safety and well-being of our employees at the forefront as we go with this. Thank you, and I just hand over the call to my colleague Venkat, who will take you through the financial performance for the quarter.
Thank you, Jaco. Good morning to all analysts community. So as Jaco has said, the standalone results the turnover is up due to good performance of the instant coffee business. On the one point to call out is on our plantation businesses, coffee business especially. The last quarter again is not a comparable one last year's quarter because of some of these the flow through of volume from March 2020 into April 20. So to that extent, it may not be comparable. But having said that, there has been a good robust performance in the instant coffee division. The other income includes dividends received from 8 o'clock of 18 crores. So that is one. And thirdly, on the cost side, employee benefit costs are slightly higher, but because last year the increments, the normal employee increments were not there. This year that has been kind of given, and the finance costs are lower compared to the previous year's quarter. Tax rate not much of change, and EPS for standalone is at 1.51 compared to 0.56 of the similar quarter the previous year. Coming to consolidated, as Jaco has said, some of these the peak demand normalizations have happened in 8 o'clock due to pantry filling, which happened the previous year's quarter. So the turnover is so that's the reason for the drop in turnover. Vietnam has had a good quarter, and overall profit before tax for consolidated is at 62 crores, 62.7 compared to 79 of the previous year, largely attributable to the lower performance on the from 8 o'clock coffee. With that, I sort of hand over to the for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone wishing to ask a question may please press star and one on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is on the line of Jeet Gala from Centra Advisors LLP. Please go ahead.
Sir, basically I want to understand how are we exposed to the coffee commodity prices. I mean, we have plantations, so we'll be selling our, output on the plantations side. So all of that happens on the spot market, or we have some, long-term contracts which are already fixed. And with respect to that, I want to understand, so these beans or these plantations also are a raw material cost into your value-added product. So net on the company's balance sheet, how are we overexposed to the commodity prices?
Yeah, so what I will just summarize. So what is happening on the plantation side coffee is that, see, there are two seasons crop which will come. Leaving apart these, biological produce valuations, etc. For the 2020-21 crop which is being sold currently, there are contracts in place. They are not long-term contracts. They are seasonal contracts in that sense. Okay, that's how it is. Okay. So and 21-22 crop which is yet to come. Okay, which is where the harvest will start from, say, September, October onwards. Mm-hmm. Those contracts are yet to be, that will take some time to get fixed. So that is the way the equations will work on the plantation side. Having said that, I want to call out that on pepper we have seen quite a healthy increase in prices, which will hold us in good stead. On the instant coffee side, yes, there will be impact on account of we do carry inventories. But having said that, the kind of pricing will depend on the contracts already there, but also will factor in the kind of the new the coffee cost which will come in. So that to that extent there is to say in different manner as far as the instant coffee and business is concerned, there will be some amount of flow through on the increased commodity costs onto the prices, because overall overall that's how the equations will work. On the 8 o'clock side, yes, there will be they carry all the roasters carry 30-40 weeks of inventory, so there is some amount of protection there. But again, the commodity cost will impact them, and then normally as that happens as in FMCG, there will be some kind of price throughs which will happen in due course.
Okay. Sir, the output of the previous season, I mean, is any quantity left to be sold on the spot market, or everything has been contracted?
Most of it would have been sold, because that's the way it will happen. Except there will be always quantities, depend on the Robusta parchment and all that. There will be something, but that's how there will be operations.
Okay, and so going forward for all the future seasons also, I mean, contracts will be there. I mean, you all don't like to participate in the spot market. Is that true?
No, spot will be there, but we also have some of the contracts which are there for slightly, for the new season as well, which will be there.
And also, I think what is important to remember here is we have, premiumized and differentiated our coffee. So there is that element which also, comes into play, which is around, single origin and all. So there is a fine line that you need to balance, especially when you look at spots, right, or a long-term kind of a contract. So we do feel with the kind of coffee and the kind of crop that we hope to have, we would be placed in a good spot at the moment.
Okay. And sir, lastly, on the standalone balance sheet, are we net buyers of the beans, or we are the net seller? I mean, considering the plantation and the value added on the standalone balance sheet.
We will be net buyers in a sense, because see, we roughly produce around 8,000 tons of coffee roughly. We buy almost double that quantity for the instant coffee side. But again, the nature of business are different.
Understood. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Amit Doshi from Care PMS. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Sir, this 8 o'clock brand of coffee is now being planned to launch in India, or probably already launched in India through Tata Consumer Products. So can you broadly tell us what could be the arrangement between the two? Because brand is being used, so would there be some sort of a royalty, and what sort of sharing arrangement? So broadly, if you can throw some light on that.
No, I am unable to comment on that right now, Amit, because it is just coming in, so we'll wait for some time.
It's already launched, right, in the June month?
It's only an online, it's just, getting in. That's where it is.
Okay, but what is the plan? Nothing can be shared?
No, nothing can be shared right now.
Okay. Achha, any impact of this third corona wave in Vietnam we are seeing in our Vietnam plant operations, whether dispatches or operations, production, anything?
See, so far what is happening is Vietnam, we are seeing more increased number of cases. There are restrictions. Employees have been asked to stay within the factory and all that. But so far there has been no impact on the production or shipments.
Okay, both are safe. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And this, while of course you answered a bit on the commodity prices earlier, but now recently, of course, both the coffee prices are substantially up because of this expected crop loss. And you mentioned initially in your opening remarks that our plantation operations are intact. There is no sort of impact as such. So, can you share some sort of outlook for our coffee plantation business going forward?
Plantation business, so we can tell two things. One, the outlook for the crop is so far good compared to what the normal monsoons and all, whatever we are rainfall. So that means effectively, of course, coffee goes through the on and off cycles and all that, but coffee and pepper, the outlook remains quite safe in terms of crop. On the prices, of course, we will wait, because too early days to comment. Of course, with the bullishness in prices, it will benefit the plantations.
Because this crop loss in Brazil will not be short-lived, right? It will have some sort of a medium, 3-4.
Yeah, correct. But we are not getting the full picture on that, because slowly things are, I think that there will be little more clarity over next few weeks or something.
So Amit, it's like this. It depends on who you actually speak to. There are, vast variances in terms of the perceived loss of crop that has happened in Brazil, that is actually coming out, right? And when I talk about vast, we are talking about somebody talking from 2 million right up to 10 million bags of coffee. So I think, having been in agriculture for a fairly large period of, I would say that, to take a estimation just 1 week, 10 days after a, event, I think it's fraught with a lot of uncertainty. And also, while there are there is some talk about another cold front building up. All this is, something that we will get a clearer picture, maybe a month, 45 days, where the actual impact of all these events will be clearly visible. Also, yes, you are absolutely right. It is something which would not just impact this year's crop, but also the coming year's crop. So that's something which, in a severe incidence of frost. And again, I'm clarifying here, we have absolutely no idea what the intensity of frost has been. Severe instance of frost, you will even lose many bushes in itself. So that's where it is. I think we should wait for at least a month and a half, maybe up to 2 months, to get a much clearer picture.
Fair enough. And in our 8 o'clock business, in terms of price hikes, etc., so how it will happen, because of this I understand, but generally how it happens, because last year also, there was a huge competition. We have mentioned in past commentaries as well, and we have done significant marketing expense as well. So in terms of now, there will be some sort of a price hikes or to improve the margins of 8 o'clock business. Anything on that?
No, right now we don't want to comment, but it will be in line with the what competition does. Also, they will take into account, and that's how they will plan.
Sure. Okay. Thank you and all the very best.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, we would like to remind participants that you may press star and one to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Nitin Agrawal from Elite Wealth Limited. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Nitin Agrawal from the Elite Wealth Limited. Thank you for this great opportunity.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Nitin. We are not able to hear you clearly.
Right now it's audible.
So can you use the handset mode while speaking?
Just a second. Yeah, now it's audible.
Much better. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for this opportunity. Yeah. Sir, my question is, the Brazil crop has been destroyed, and it is expected that the coffee prices will shoot up in the future, and the impact of crop will be global. So, what would be your view on this?
So again, I think just a while back when I was speaking to Amit, I was just making this point. There is still lack of clarity in terms of the actual extent of damage, and the kind of reports that are coming out from Brazil suggest vast variances in terms of the total quantum of crop that is going to be lost. Now, again, the point that I was trying to make there is, in agriculture, it would be virtually impossible to be able to take an estimate which is, factually correct within, a week of an incident actually taking place. So my reading into this is that while there has been damage, definitely there is no doubts about it. The total quantum of damage and the actual impact that it would have on the future prices of coffee could be better understood maybe a month and a half, 2 months from now, when when everything would be very, 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 very much more clearer. And obviously, since coffee is a globally traded commodity, the increase or decrease of coffee prices would equally be applicable to Tata Coffee.
Right, fair enough. And my second question would be, would you please can guide me through your top line guidance for Q2 FY22?
You are saying outlook for Q2?
Yeah.
No, outlook for Q2 we are not able to give in specific numbers, but having said that, we have said that the coffee and pepper crop, coffee crop looks, safe. That's what that much we can say. And Vietnam, we hope we have,
order books are good.
The order book is healthy. And 8 o'clock, of course, we'll have to, depending on the, situation in US in terms of market conditions, that will be. So that's a kind of broad indication.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sameer Gupta from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir, and thank you for taking my question. Just one actually. So basically, even without the crop loss in Brazil, there was a decent amount of inflation in both Robusta and Arabica globally, the coffee prices that we are seeing. But in spite of being, net buyers of coffee, we are not seeing any major impact on our margins. In fact, on a consolidated basis, our gross margin is up some 350 basis points. So just trying to understand what has led to this increase. Is it just mix or is it more than that?
No, there are two or three reasons. One, of course, the mix will change. No, see, we have got the different instant coffee products. One is the spray, aglo and freeze. So there's a mix always there between India and Vietnam. That mix will be there. One factor which will be there. And secondly, of course, we also carry some inventories. No, so that also there will be, and then the contracts already priced in.
And also the quality of the sale. I mean, in terms of the kind of blends that you would be selling, that also has an impact on the overall margins. So if there is a larger proportion of premium blends that you would be selling, which is something which I had spoken about, is what we are trying to spend more time on, that would also help the margins expand a bit.
Got it, sir. And going forward, let's say when you exhaust the lower cost inventory and let's say the prices, they stay at where they are, I'm not even considering the Brazil crop loss impact, would it be a fair assumption that margin should technically then start to deteriorate just pricing in the higher coffee prices?
But typically, what will happen is the buyers will also price in the increases, because that's the way the FMCG will operate.
There will be some pass-through.
So there will be some pass-through expected because of these prices. Otherwise, there will be squeezing of margin, which will not be there for long. For some months, okay, till the price hike settle down, there will be some impact. But otherwise, margins will normally catch up depending on the coffee prices.
But globally, the demand is not going to or expected to increase in a sharp manner, right? In fact, with the COVID pandemic, there is an out of home which has been impacted, and overall the demand probably will be lower. So margins technically should, moderate in the near term. It's not like a long-term thing, but in the near term at least, we should see some pressure logically on the margins, right?
See, the point is, we are comparing to the previous year. See, things have improved. If you really look at it, what was there the previous year and now, the things have the pandemic is, have been controlled, vaccinations have happened, etc. So while there won't be any increasing demand per se, what we are looking probably, the out of home consumption, etc. In the near term will take time to catch up.
Got it, sir. I'll come back in the case I have more questions.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chetan Thakkar from ASK Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hi.
Hi. So just wanted to get a sense on the profitability for Vietnam operations. We've been successfully utilizing those capacities now. So in the next 2 to 3 years, how should we view the profitability of those operations? And are the levers available by moving up on the value-added side to drive those higher?
Yes, see, it is profitable, Chetan. The thing is, overall, we have, as we know, previous quarters also we commented, there are still levers which are available, both on the cost side as we as the operations stabilize and we are trying to learn more about the operations. That will be one lever. Secondly, on the mix, there is potential to sort of look at improvements there. And thirdly, we are also not so far into SKUs and all that. We are only in the bulk sale. So these are broadly 3 levers. These are the broad 3 levers which will help us in the future. That's what our estimate is.
And also, I think this year what we have also been able to prove is that the better the blend mix, or better the premium type of coffees that we produce from there, there is a massive runway there available too, and that's something which we have very distinctly worked on, whether it is in new product development, whether it's looking at single origin type of coffees in there, or very specific customer focused blends, which again there is a massive runway available to us, and it has a as the name suggests, it obviously has a premium in terms of not just the quality but also the price that we will be able to. So there is some exciting things that we can do.
So the assumption that we are running with is fair, that while utilization has come, there is still a long way to go in terms of what we can deliver in terms of profitability from that plant.
Yes, absolutely. We do feel that, yes.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shanti Patel from Shanti Patel and Associates LLP. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. My question is, for Avia and Robust, what was the price 2 months before and what is the price today, and what will be the impact on our profitability in future of that price difference?
You are asking about the prices of Arabica, is it?
2 months before, what was the price prevalent and what is the price today?
Of Arabica or Robusta, sir?
Both.
Okay. So the prices have obviously moved up, and if you were to look at what has happened after the the news of frost in Brazil has been concerned, I think that the prices have moved up substantially over what it was about 2 weeks back. So
no, how much? Can you quantify difference?
So I'll tell you. So before the news of the frost came in, the prices were ranging anything between 160 to 165 cents per pound for Arabica, which has moved right into the 200 zone, and it is hanging around that level. It comes between 190 to 210 to 15 and keeps coming down based on whatever news is being flashed around. Similarly, just before this news came in, Robusta was in the region of about 1,750, which is dollars per dollars, and it is actually now ranging around 1,900 odd, now 900, 920, depending again on the situation. I hope that clarifies it.
And what will be the impact on our profitability in the second quarter?
See, as I explained, Mr. Shanti Patel, the point is like this. See, it will not depend on the season. As we said, we sell season crops. No, the 2021 crop is almost, we are in the last legs of selling out, the contracting and selling out. And now what will be priced is the new season crop, which is in the process. So it's very difficult to put a firm number to that. But if the numbers, depending on the contracts what we have entered into and what is remaining to be entered into when the crop is getting harvested, this benefit will be realized.
No, but I mean it will be much better as compared to quarter first. Do you agree?
If the prices are holding firm, yes, Mr. Patel. But then the only thing is there are two factors you please bear in mind. So what happens is the entire season crop, for example, is like this. Now we start harvesting somewhere in September, October for Arabica, and then it moves up. Probably continues up to December. By the time that the whole thing gets commercialized, it will be a couple of months down the line. Similarly, Robusta will be starting somewhere in November, December, and then goes into next couple of 2-3 months. So that's the kind of elongated period. It takes some time before the crop gets commercialized. Okay. So your view on and in between we follow something called biological produce valuation, where it is based on the Indian Coffee Board prices. So some of it will not be realized. So when we sell, we realize the gain. And till that time, it is more or less valued on the basis of the coffee board prices, which are not fully, because we have to value at net realizable value or the cost, whichever is lower in that sense. So in short, the answer will be if the prices hold firm like this, obviously we will stand to benefit. If the prices keep coming and moving up and sort of moving down, that volatility will have to be factored in.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Harsh Seth from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead. Harsh, your line is in the talk mode. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, team. Thanks for the opportunity. Just a couple of questions. So firstly, on our Vietnam operations, so can you help me with the revenues that we generated for Q1?
See, revenues are in the range of around 8 million or...
So it was 8 million in Q4, right? So similar range?
Somewhat slightly maybe higher, slightly higher, yeah.
Slightly higher. And sir, when we speak about improving the mix, so we are trying to sell more of freeze-dried coffee. Is it right?
No, Vietnam is only freeze-dried. It is 100% freeze-dried. So in the freeze-dried, there are various combinations possible. Single origin, decaf. We have some of the origin blends which we can do. So there are typically what we call premium, popular, and all that. So that mix always there is a potential to play. Depending on the orders we get, we can improve.
All right. And so then, if we have a good order book and we are running at around 98% utilization levels, so we still don't have any expansion plans in Vietnam specifically? If you can.
No, we have to wait, Harsh. I understand we are also keen, looking at, we would like to, but then the point is that we have started commercial operations only sometime in 2019. Obviously, we are now just 2 years into and then we have been successfully able to commercialize the operations, and we are operating at close to 95% capacity, but we will need to wait and see how the market shapes up.
All right. And so which markets are we specifically targeting in instant coffee? If you could, help me out.
So a large part of Europe and CIS is what we target out from Vietnam. And then of course we have a fairly good presence in the African markets from our Indian operations. So of course there is overlap of some of these other customers into Europe and then of course Russia from India also. But largely from Vietnam, there are advantages in terms of trade block advantages, etc. So that's something which we do our maximum quantities go into those two geographies.
All right, got it. And the tax holiday is still 2024, is that right?
Yeah,
in Vietnam?
Correct. You're right.
And sir, with regards to this MEIS scheme, so I think we had accrued around 14-15 odd crores, but have we received that payment? And secondly, is there any update on this RODTEP scheme? Anything which would be of our benefit?
No, MEIS scheme, we have not accrued 14 crores. We had accrued 8 crores last year. Okay. So that nothing has happened. The portal is not open, but what we are understanding is that the portal got opened for the previous year. Now we have to get for 2021. So that the portal for that year is not open. So that we are expecting some, obviously the previous year 18, 19, 19, 20 and all got opened and claims were lodged. So we are waiting for further update on that from the government, from the government authorities. On the RODTEP scheme, so far no indications. So the rates have not been announced.
All right. And just one thing, in instant coffee, if you could, help me out with how the, our contracts are structured. You just wanted to understand the pass-through mechanism that we have in place, given the, inflation and coffee prices. If you could help us out.
So these are all, contracts which don't last, maybe for 3 to 6 months kind of time frames it will last. So, and it prices in the coffee, existing coffee prices in that sense. That's how it is.
Right. And
we have back-to-back covers wherever we have sort of, quoting.
Okay, back-to-back quoting, right? So we'll not be impacted that much.
Yeah, correct.
And sir, lastly on EOC, I mean, the concern is, the margins might take a hit with sharp rise in coffee prices. So anything you could, comment on, how is the industry saying? Are we, is industry planning to increase the coffee prices, and how is the demand scenario there?
What we understand is, some of the brands have taken up some prices, so that we are, the local market is evaluating that. Normally, in the past, obviously, these prices will get passed down in some form or the other, depending on the either trade, consumer, or increase in the packs. So that is something the local market is looking at.
Right. And so, what would be your reading on this, very sharp uptrend in coffee prices? I mean, you did mention last time around that it was a result of, very speculative market, but do we expect it to, correct at some point of time?
So I think, so I made this comment, I think, in the beginning of the call. One, of course, I mean, there are two factors which led to this increase. One is, of course, the drought that kind of people talked about in the beginning of the year, and the impact it possibly could have on the overall crop. That is more speculative in nature. Then, of course, there has been this weather event, which is frost, which has taken place in Brazil. As I was mentioning earlier, the loss of crop and the quantum, change in the total crop, which is expected to be harvested from Brazil, seems to be widely varying, fluctuating to with whoever you speak to. I mean, I'm talking about some of the big trade houses that we normally do business with. So the fact remains that it is too early to be able to really put a number to the kind of losses that would have actually occurred. There is definitive loss which is taking place because there is enough documentary proof, photographic proof to be able to understand that there is a massive amount of damage which has happened. But what is the exact level of loss would be known a month and a half from now, and that definitely the market will factor in based on how the consumption and how things are opening up in the Western world as far as coffee consumption goes. So I think it is best, we wait and watch for at least a month and a half before we draw any very specific conclusions around whether this is sustainable, the price hike is sustainable, or it would come down. I hope I've answered your question.
All right. Yeah, so that was really helpful. So, sir, on EOC, I believe we source predominantly from Brazil and Colombia. So, just wanted to understand, if there is scope to, supply from India and Vietnam, and thereby trying to gain some advantage over our competitors there. Is there any scope?
No. See, India, for example, Vietnam, we manufacture instant coffee. No, that's an RNG play there. Instant coffee play is not the US instant coffee play, and they predominantly use Arabica coffee, which is they source from Brazil. So India supplying, it will not be India anyway produces smaller quantums of Arabica, and secondly, the freight cost, etc., will be quite uncompetitive.
It's uncompetitive. Got it. And sir, only last question, if you may find it fit to answer, are we planning to bid for? So one of our large competitors, I believe, is planning to sell its plantation business. So are we planning to bid, for that? Any
we have no plans.
No plans on adding more plantation. Is it? Yeah. All right. So thanks.
Thank you.
That was really.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Siddhant Punjabi from Way to Wealth Brokers Private Limited. Please go ahead.
Hi. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to ask you regarding the Sonnets brand. How has the uptake been, and if you could probably just give us some color on what are your future plans for the brand?
Yeah. So Sonnets actually has been pretty successful, and I think so. What we are hoping to do with Sonnets, and again, obviously this is marketed and sold on a D2C platform by Tata Consumer Products, our parent company. But the entire produce actually comes from Tata Coffee's garden. So we're intrinsically, connected with the entire thing. So the idea was to actually give limited edition coffees, which are produced only for that particular season from very specific gardens or in a very specific manner of production, or of how you manufacture it. So this year, in fact, the number of variants that we've been which are going to be sold has increased substantially. So the idea was that there has been good feedback and a good uptake. So we feel that this is something that we would be able to substantially scale up, and especially considering these are specialty single estate limited edition coffees.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. I just have one more question. Just wanted an update, on the JV that we have at Starbucks and, the and basically, the quantum or any color on the tie-up and the beans that we have been giving to Starbucks.
No, see, we JV is between Tata Consumer and Starbucks, okay. But we are the sole and exclusive supplier of Arabica beans. We have a roastery for them in Kushal Nagar. So we recently, about last year, we expanded the roastery. So about 300 to 350 tons of beans which the roastery can process. So of course, currently, last of course because pandemic, some of the stores were closed, but they have opened other channels and all the deliveries solutions they have sort of opened up, and so the tie-up has been extremely rewarding.
Okay, wow, that's it. Thank you so much. That's all from my end.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Falguni Datta from Jet 8 Securities Private Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. I just have one question. If you could just provide the growth potential of profits for each of your businesses, which is 8 O'Clock and the Vietnam Instant Coffee division over 3-year period. I'm not asking for a guidance, but just the profit growth potential that you see over 3 years for each of these two divisions.
Falguni, it's very difficult to answer, and we are, sorry, we are not able to give any numbers in that sense. But obviously, as we have explained earlier, two things. 8 O'Clock, of course, they are trying to have strong pipeline of innovation. So that is the way. I mean, some of the new products pipeline is the 8 O'Clock, and then they are trying to expand whatever the reach and potential there in the US. And as regards Vietnam is concerned, as we mentioned that there are potential levers to expand the margins, which is what we are working on. So beyond that, we are not able to give any growth percentages for the next 3 years and all that.
To put it differently, where do you see the company? Which segment do you see the company enabling growth for the next 3 years? I mean, which segment would be, let's say, the leader in delivering growth for Tata Coffee over 3 years?
Sure, I will tell you. So on the plantation side, we are looking at diversification of crops. We have planted avocado. So that is in the next 2-3 years. And as we earlier said also, that we have expanding the pepper production. So that is roughly around 1,000 to 1,100 tons over a period of time. That we are potentially looking at aggressive expansion. We have planted vines which will start yielding over the next couple of years. So on the plantation side, clearly diversification and pepper is one the two levers which we are working on. And the next growth engine is of course instant coffee. We set up the Vietnam plant for FDC in 2019. It went into commercial production, and we have plans over a period of time. We have to look at how to grow that market.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Himanshu Nair from Yes Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning, sir, and thanks for taking my question. First one, you talked about the margin levers that you have for the Vietnam instant coffee business, but coming to the India instant coffee business, I mean, where are we currently in terms of profitability, and do you see any significant margin levers in the India business?
So it's like this. In India, we have all the three. Vietnam is only a freeze-dried business. This is the premium end. India, we have the spray, aglo, and the freeze-dried. All the three are there. So that in terms of margin expansion, we are, it's a question of the mix which we are doing. That is the first one. Depending on again, we have a kind of innovation led products in all these three, especially on the spray and aglo. Secondly, on the Tata Coffee Grand also, we have, if we recall that Tata Coffee Grand is manufactured by us and sold to Tata Consumer, which markets it. So there also we have found good traction. So these are the kind of broadly two levers apart from the cost optimization levers, which we're always trying to work on.
Understood, sir. And talking specifically about this quarter, I understand that there are margin risks going forward for 8 o'clock. But specific to this quarter, we have seen a decline in top line. But you talked about cost controls and better realization. So just from this quarter's perspective, have we been able to maintain our margins on 8 o'clock?
Yeah, 8 o'clock, you see, what is happening there is last year the volumes were higher because of pantry filling and all that. So this time it has got normalized. But having said that, they are also having some headwinds in terms of the green coffee, of the green cost. So that is there. To that extent, there is some, but so there's a lag effect which will be there till they find some solutions around how the flow through on the pricing will happen.
No, I was talking about the quarter gone by, sir. So whether we've been able to maintain our margins, because as of now that would not have hit us, right?
No, the 8 o'clock there has been some dip in margin compared to the previous year's quarter. That's which we explained, due to the higher on the overall cost.
Understood. And just my final question would be on the plantations business, specifically related to tea. Could you give some color on the growth and profitability out there given the current pricing environment?
Yeah. Good. No. Tea, for example, the last year was a good year for tea. We had a good, operating performance led largely by higher prices. The quarter one also we have found that the prices holding on. Though we are now seeing some kind of those higher levels of prices are coming off in this quarter. But having said that, we have put in additional measures. A new strategy has been put in place in respect of turnaround. We are also trying to synergize with the associate company Kannan Devan in Munnar. So that way we are seeing on the tea side we are investing. We are also investing behind factory renovations and to improve the quality of tea. With all that, we are looking for a fairly decent performance in tea going forward.
Understood, sir. That's all from me, sir. Thanks and all the best.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. The next question is on the line of Anirudh Joshi. Please go ahead.
Sir, just one important question. How much is Brazil as % of total global coffee production? And if we take a ballpark estimate, let's say 50% of the production is lost for this year, then obviously it is very difficult to do such correlation. But roughly, what will be the impact on the coffee prices globally? And generally, such kind of large impact have we seen in previous 1 or 2 decades? And if you can share from your experience, what is generally the impact on coffee prices and for how long the impact remains?
Yes, you have asked the most difficult question, Anirudh.
And Anirudh, if something like a 50% crop is disappearing, I think coffee would be worth the price in gold. But anyway, jokes aside, frankly, one, of course, we must understand Arabica production is what has been impacted in this particular weather event which has been. Typically, Brazil produces close to 70%.
Ladies and gentlemen, the line for the speaker seems to have got disconnected. Please stay connected while we reconnect the speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the conference operator. Please note, we have lost the line for the management. Please stay connected while we try to reconnect them. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for patiently holding. We now have the line for the speaker reconnected. Over to you, sir.
So, thanks, Anirudh. I was just saying that the impact which has actually taken place has been purely on the Arabica crop. Brazil typically produces anything between 60 to 70% of the world's Arabica production. So, whatever the markets would move up and down would be around the Arabica production alone. And again, if I remember the rest of the question, I think it was around what the impact could be on the overall crop. Is my understanding? Globally, impact on the coffee price. Yeah, so that's something which we will really need to wait and watch. As I mentioned earlier, again, if the entire numbers were to come to a level, say, of 8 or 9 million bags, which is what some of the people have actually spoken about, then the impact of coffee prices increased would be there, persisting for the next year too, primarily because the frost typically would have not just damaged, if such a large impact is there, could have not just damaged the crop but also the coffee bushels in itself. The last time something like this happened was in the early 90s, and that led to a kind of a boom in coffee prices for 4 or 5, 6 years actually. So again, I must clarify, I must caution, the actual loss of crop, the actual area that has been lost due to frost, the severity of the frost, and the fact that some people talk about another cold front being there. We need to wait and watch for the next month and a half, at least 2 months, to understand this before we pass any kind of judgment in terms of how coffee prices are going to be.
Okay, sir. That is very helpful. Just last question. Now, there is some increase in raw material cost. Obviously, we have some inventory and forward covers, but have we started raising additional prices to our customers too? And if any quantum?
So on the instant coffee side, this contract, as I explained, it depends on the coffee prices. It gets constantly repriced. New contracts are factoring into the new prices and all that. That's how it will operate.
And typically, we've been running the plants with orders, so that there is no nothing which is lying there which can be repriced or there isn't a variance in the price which is possible.
Okay, so logically we can assume that there will not be any material impact on the margins for FY22, or is it again too early to comment?
To say, because Anirudh, there are coffee prices are one, which will of course since we get contracts, we also price it based on prices and all that. But there are also other indications. You would have read about the freight costs and container issues and all that. That is one. Then tin prices are high. We do a lot of agro SKUs for Africa. So those are all other things which we are still kind of navigating.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is line of Pranav Lala from Augmenta Research. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, good morning. So I had a question on the plantation side. Currently, 15 to 18% of your top line comes from plantations. How do you expect this to change this mix to change in the future?
So 2 or 3 reasons. One, of course, will be the crop. Okay, coffee, depending on the crop, that will be one factor. Secondly, as I explained, pepper, we are expecting growth in pepper production over the next few years. We have planted additional vines. So all that we are these two on the crop side. Then the diversification which will happen, as we have already planted avocados and all. So that those are all getting into commercialization will take a couple of years. So the third one. And fourthly, of course, largely will also depend on the prices. And fifth lever is also the bought coffee, which we are, we do around 3,000 to 4,000 tons of bought coffee. That also will be a lever going forward.
Okay. How much of this plantation revenue comes purely from coffee? Because I understand there's a amount of pepper and tea included in this. So how much of the top line will be purely from coffee plantations?
Yeah. So coffee alone, roughly around 30%.
Okay. 13 you said, or what?
30.
Oh, 30. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the last question. I now hand the conference over to the management for the closing comments.
Thank you everyone for having joined us for this call. We hope to catch up with you all again at the end of this quarter two performance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of ICICI Securities, that concludes this conference call. We thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.